and sit down.
Round 6 of the ChampCar iRacing series for 2023 takes us to Circuit of the Americas, COTA, and it's also the return for the second time this year of the TCR turbocharged front-wheel drive races. Pretty much the fastest cars we're using all season long. And they do have a little bit of challenge to them as far as their front-wheel drive nature goes, and also as far as there being 4 possible options across 2 Hyundais, 1 Honda, and the Audi RS3 as well. Typical round for us with a 60-minute race coming up, qualifying underway at the moment. And we have your live coverage here on HJBC with myself, David Haynes, Devin Peters, and Michael Derby with me. This is a tricky little track, Devin.
I'd argue that it's a tricky big track, David Haynes. One of the largest ones we'll be visiting this year, and one of the fastest ones, and with kind of a few different distinct sections out there. So we'll get to see these guys in the high-speed twisty bits, in the low-speed twisty bits, and in the long straighty bits today.
And so we're qualifying with there's 5 minutes remaining. Jordan Johnson at the moment with the best time and looking very handily clear of the rest of the field at the moment. I think the track is getting quicker as we go though, racing into the afternoon and the evening. So there's plenty of time still for some of the other drivers to have 1 or 2 more digs and attempts at it. And also maybe try to find a little bit of clean track out there just based on what we see here. A great look at 2 of the Honda Civic Type R TCRs, and here's another one. And then there's a few Elantras, a Veloster or 2, and there's definitely some Audi RS3s out there too. So I think we've got all represented. It's Joshua Soto, he's crossed the line and not found a time improvement on the last one. But now at the start of the lap, very tight turn 1 opens up into this S's section.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good first sector on the board there, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. Long lap around here, even in these fast TCR cars, about a 2-minute 20 lap. We're looking at the front of the field right now. Josh Soto, definitely an impressive driver when it comes to some of the momentum rear-wheel drive cars that we take, but these TCRs are kind of a whole different beast.
Certainly that's the point of having different cars round to round to round, is there are lots of different cars that you expect to see in the ChampCar Endurance Series. Some turbocharged, some not, some front-wheel drive, some not. So to just go through your Mustangs, your front-wheel drive cars here, Mazda MX-5 and the Toyota GR86 as well this season. Hopefully show up who's relatively versatile as far as what cars they race well. Lots to race for this season as well in the ChampCar iRacing series, Devin.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only is there a $1,500 Champ Buck prize going to our first place season-long champion, we've also got a variety of prizes for folks who just show up. $250 will be drawn 3 times this season, once after rounds 1 to 4, again after rounds 5 to 8, and finally for rounds 9 to 12. And all you have to do to qualify for that one is just show up for 4 races in a row. So have some fun on iRacing, meet some of the guys, and what's that? Make your racing a little bit cheaper. It's one of the best deals, I'd say, going out there.
Absolutely. So 30 TCRs at the moment as Jordan Johnson sets a purple sector 3 of 4, and he's definitely one of the drivers improving. William Alcala also, I see a driver with multiple consecutive personal best sectors. Someone else behind him looked like they were going to improve on that particular lap. But interesting to see the Veloster up the top at the moment. Last time we raced these cars was at Sonoma, and I do remember it being a little more Elantra versus Audi, if I recall.
Yeah, and iRacing's always tinkering with the balance of performance on these things, so it's entirely possible that this is just a good course for the Veloster. But it's also a little interesting to see. We haven't actually seen Jordan Johnson out at one of our races yet, so welcome in, and a heck of a performance, I must say. He's got a good background by the looks of things, doing a lot of GT4 racing, but he's clearly a bit of a savant when it comes to the TCR as well.
The Pure Sims livery cues me in just a little bit, having seen that many a time in things like 24-hour series esports powered by Creventic and other championships like that, where these cars run and to a very, very competitive level. And he's gone purple in the first sector as well. This will be the last flying lap they get with 30 seconds left on the clock. I think drivers do get to complete their laps in this style of format. Maybe just a hint, a little whiff of traffic in front of him there.
Well, it's cool to see some of the really high level folks out there starting to take notice. You know, ChampCar is in the real world a series that attracts both beginners and professionals alike out to the circuit. So it's cool to see that going on in the virtual series as well.
Here comes the slipstream for Jordan Johnson down the back straight. He's behind Charles Kowalczyk of Love Racing there in the Honda. Look like they're going to pull out of the way. On a qualifying session, you kind of got to have a go for it, but if they touch it, invalidates both of their laps, and with the checkered flag out, this is the last-ditch opportunity for Jordan Johnson. Keeps it between the lines, and shortly I'm going to see another sector that'll tell me whether the slipstream on the back straight helped or having to throw it down the inside hurt. I suspect there's a little bit of both. It's just how does it even out in the wash?
Yeah, that was another purple sector for him, so that's gone pretty well. And a bit of a shame for Charles Kowalczyk because he had 3 green sectors all in a row there as well.
Checkered flag out. Still a couple of cars around taking the checkered flag before we get to the 1 hour race. Being very mindful of those track limits, of course, in qualifying so that no lap times get deleted. And out the final corner, timing line comes up pretty quickly for Jordan Johnson, and it is an improvement and a significant one at that, to a 2-minute 20.3.
That's a heck of a lap. Kowalczyk abandoned his a little bit early by the looks of things. Still a couple other drivers out on track, following Colin Lounsbury, who's second overall on the grid right now, as he comes around through the back half of the track here. 1 green sector so far, but going to be hard pressed to close the gap, I'd say.
So where will this lap go?
Looks like it won't go far enough as he pulls off before the start-finish line to perhaps avoid showing his pace. Or maybe the qualifying lap wasn't good enough. You never know.
So out on track, Davis Trask, 14th at the moment. Now, we've been educated before which non-maker this is, and I was not a particularly good student.
Will. But maybe Wayne, but definitely Will. I think it depends on the week, if I'm being honest.
You know, one of the Team Salem's cars is not going to improve with that.
It's a great day. It's a great day for us not to be sure, is what that is. You can blame it on the other one, you know? And I think that's going to be about it for our qualifying session here. We've only got 15 seconds left on the clock, and I'm not sure that they'll be allowed to complete the lap if they're still running.
No, I think session expires at that point, and it's kind of a red flag, and I get DM educating me. It is Will Nonamaker. So thanks to Phil Salen, who's watching. Hello. And he'll be no doubt pleased to see some Team Salen's cars out there on the track. This is what the grid is going to look like now for the 1 hour round 6 of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2023. Jordan Johnson with pole position from Colin Lounsbury. Andrew Lanning and Joshua Soto are not that. Yeah. Andrew Lanning and Tim Wire are row number 2. The numbers are right, but their positions in the graphic aren't, and it hurts my brain just a tiny little bit. There we go. Still not there we go. Let me just read it, and then our producer will work whatever magic does or doesn't work. Joshua Soto and Bowie Suin are row number 3. Row number 4 is Kyle Robertson and Ian Giebler. Sean Saputra and Nick Love complete the top 10. So I think that's some teammates side by side on row number 5. Behind that, this looks good. Dakota Knapp and Orlando Harrell, and it quickly falls apart. Oh, I love it. William Alcala and Davis Trask, the row behind that. Then David Warden and Charles Kowalczyk. Carlos Reyes and Mark Kruger. Carlos Reyes, by the looks of things, our highest placed Club Texas driver. So we'll see if hometown experience pulls there. And then Ben Rose and Aaron Thorpe row behind that. Will Nonamaker and John McManus. Michael Thorne, highest Canadian alongside Scott Grinnell. Greg Vandervert and Andre Jameson. And Jared Cubitt, Alan Wells, JR Cabrera, and Alex Harrison. Did we get there in the end? I think we did. That's our 30 TCRs, and we have every model and make possible represented somewhere on the grid.
Yeah, and a good chunk of the North American clubs represented as well. Always good to see a good variety out there. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't tell Mike that he should go race with Ryan, who's racing a champ car near me. Wants Mike to come out and race him, or race with him, and has been bugging him in our group chat all day long.
Here they come behind the pace car through this twisty section of the lap towards the end of the lap. Really tight, tough to spot your apex and your turn-in points in this car as corners are just that tight. And this is a car that kind of will reward you for going in a bit deep, turning in a bit late, because then when you get the power down, the car doesn't want to keep turning after that point. Very loose on entry, a bit tight on exit.
Yeah, as any good front wheel drive car is, set up to oversteer to within an inch of its life and barely catch hold once you get back to the throttle.
So there's pit entry to the left. Drivers will need it once during this race. Whether they take tyres, when they take fuel is up to them and will be a point of intrigue. 2 by 2 out the final corner. Jordan Johnson's looking for the green flag at Circuit of the Americas for round 6 of the ChampCar iRacing series. His Hyundai Veloster on pole. Colin Lounsbury's Audi alongside. Elantras and Hondas right behind. And Jordan Johnson is getting pushed along by Andrew Lanning. The green flag waves. They fan out. The track opens up wide going up the hill towards turn 1. But there's always a pinch for the apex. And as they go 3 wide, 4 wide behind, your pole sitter gets through cleanly, but behind, again, still 3 wide, 4 wide. What a mess it is. They come through turn 1, down, sweeping into the opening sector of the lap.
Yeah, and at the back there, I saw a couple cars have to come all the way to a stop to make sure they made it through the corner, but it looks like everyone's away cleanly, and I'm not seeing any body parts spread out on the track just yet.
Andrew Lanning has worked his way up into second. Joshua Soto up into third off that start as well. So which lane you picked through turn 1 could have been very, very beneficial as they all came into a little bit of a rush hour squeeze merge point at the first time of asking through turn 1 in this race, which will, around this size circuit in 60 minutes, probably go somewhere 25, 27 laps. Johnson had a very, very strong advantage in qualifying. These cars are on a high downforce setup. They're going to slipstream down the back straight here. Will that make it tough for him to bolt away and break out a lead? It's 6/10 at the moment.
Oh, and they're all getting in a good line. We're seeing pretty much cars running single file up towards the front, but Bowie Suin's looking up the inside of Sean Sapucha right now as they come down the back straight here.
Someone has a massive dive and hip checks him and makes contact with Bowie Suin at that tight corner at the end of the back straight. All of that playing out in front of Dakota Knapp.
That actually looked like Charles Kowalczyk got it in a little bit hot and bounced off of Davis Trask by the look of things going into that'd be 12 there.
Well, you can see the damage on the front of the Honda there.
And you'll miss those dive planes real quick.
Yeah, we'll see if it's taking front downforce off him, and if so, through the first sector. And contact! That's Lounsbury, is it not?
Knapp, yeah, Lounsbury and Knapp have managed to get themselves together, and that's been costly. I think that's written the motor off in Knapp's car, and Lounsbury is going to be able to continue, but I think Knapp's going to have to take that Heartland Motorsports car on the tow truck back to the pit lane. Charles Kowalczyk diving into the pits as well. Tough first lap for a few of our competitors. Aaron Thorpe also hitting the pit lane as well.
Oof, big damage for both. That happened relatively high up the field, and you see the rest of the field trying to work their way through there as Aaron Thorpe, Charles Kowalczyk, and a couple others are going to pull for pit lane. Greg Vandervert on the tail of the yellow Hyundai of Mark Kruger. John McManus is the car off the circuit there, and they all get past him. He'll definitely have a slowdown out of that that'll cost him a couple spots. So twisty, constant changes of direction, sort of at high to medium speed in this opening part of the lap at Coda.
Yeah, it's tough no matter the car, and it's tougher still when you're in traffic. But you got to remember it's a long race, and there's a lot of opportunities to make up some positions. Even these guys having to pit really early might still be in it come the end.
So handy lead here for Jordan Johnson, 1.8 seconds now over Andrew Lanning in second. Colin Lounsbury in third has some pressure on him and some drivers right behind. Lounsbury, Soto, Tim Wire, Kyle Robertson. Can you almost hear Bill Salen cheering on Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually kind of enthralled by this battle for what looks like 19th, 18th place. We've got David Warden, that's Scott Grinnell, Mike Thorne, and who's else? Who else is there? Will Nonamaker, Alex Harrison, all kind of tangled up together and tripping over each other a little bit as they go through these twisty corners here on the backside of the circuit. 13, 14, 15 here. And of course, as I call them out, they managed to get it all sorted out, but it was pretty well too wide through the first half of the lap there, and it looks like they're going to do it again as we get down into 19 here.
Yeah, sure is busy there. That is Vandervert and Warden I've seen side by side coming out of the final corner here, just a little bit up the road, and they're going to have another go at it. I think this is David Warden now looking down the inside of Vandervert, closing up on the drivers in front, where McManus wants to have a dive at Kruger. McManus not as bold as David Warden might have been there, and nearly one up the back of the other in the braking zone for turn number one. Probably as big of a braking zone as you come across at this track, though, into the hairpin at the far end of the circuit. Probably also a big stop. A lot of deceleration. This is Kruger and McManus. There was an Australian late night TV host called Rove McManus. But I don't think it's a relation, as there's a spill, I think, between Scott Grinnell and others. One of the pinch points a little earlier around the lap. Spacing out a tiny bit up front, Jordan Johnson from Andrew Lanning. From Colin Lounsbury, looks like he's managed to shake Joshua Soto, now under a bit of pressure from Tim Wire and Kyle Robertson.
Yeah, I was impressed to see Andrew Lanning manage to grab the fastest lap last time by. He will have his work cut out for him if he's going to close that gap up to Jordan Johnson. But he's definitely given it the old college try. And meanwhile, behind, like you said, Soto, Wire, and Robertson are still going at it, getting in close proximity here as they go into turn 13. We'll see if any of them decide to make some very aggressive inside moves here. Of course, the site of a famous pass and not a pass, I think, if I recall correctly in Formula One.
I was just thinking about Kimi Räikkönen the other day. So, yeah, he ran okay here one time as well. What have we got going on here? Oh, yeah, this is gonna get just a little messy. Gets out of shape. Alex Harrison says, "I want none of this."
Mm-hmm.
And then they're side by side through that.
And they're still kind of going at it. Will Nonamaker had to take avoiding action as Harrison checked up a little bit. And we got Ben Rose going real wide through the last corner as well, taking kind of a suboptimal line and losing his run and losing a spot as well to Ben Rose ahead. But with the draft, they'll all be back together once they come up into turn number 1 here. Ooh. And Harrison goes wide, trying to make the outside move into turn number 1. They all sort themselves out, though, by the look of things. Tim Wire still having to be a bit defensive up front as a big move gets made in the braking zone. Kyle Robertson really clean there. Takes away the position right before the back straight with just better braking, honestly, as they got into the final corner before the straight there. He just makes the big dive up the inside. What do? Well, Tim Wire knows what to do. He's right on that rear bumper as they go down the straight. He's going to give Robertson a good push down the front or down the back straight here before trying to make another move around the outside. And we'll see. This is too wide again. And there's enough room, but there's a sausage curb on the inside, and Kyle Robertson finds it and loses the spot almost.
Wire gets it back, and then Kyle Robertson has another go at him, covers him off. This is the kind of racing that this sector of the track was meant to produce, and don't necessarily always see. It's letting Joshua Soto off the hook nicely. Look at how far he's scampered away as they've fought for almost half a lap here.
And when you're in Josh Soto's shoes, you always love to see that kind of thing going on in your rear view mirror because that's definitely secured a breakaway for him, and he'll be looking back at his relative box with almost 1.6 seconds between him and the guys behind, thinking about how nice and smooth he's going to be able to drive for the next few laps.
Yeah, group of drivers behind this catching them as they've battled the way they have. Bowie Suin, Sean Saputra, Ian Giebler. And Suin and Robertson on the same team, or am I imagining things? I wonder if there was a little hold those guys up order that came through, because they're still going to continue battling between Robertson and Wire heading towards the S's. And then this is Mark Kruger on the outside of David Warden.
I'm not sure that Suin and Robertson are on the same team, because Suin does have the me livery on the roof, remember?
Righto. And there's Kruger successfully defending his position, at least through the first couple corners, but you can... get in too hot into these S's, start to get a little wide and run into a little bit of debt almost. If you go a little wide at one apex, you're a little wide at the next, you're a little wide at the next, and eventually you either click one of those sausage curbs or you end out a little bit wide. But he's survived that, and I think he almost led David Warden into temptation there as well, just following him in with just a little too much gusto.
Yeah, he definitely was looking for the little bump on the yellow curb, and he found a really big one. And you can kind of do one or the other. And in these simulated cars, you can be pretty hard on them. If you don't break the suspension, you don't bend the suspension generally. So
second place here, yeah. Devon, Andrew Lanning, and Colin Lounsbury. Lanning in front for the moment. I think Lounsbury's got a great exit there. Lounsbury qualified second, got mugged a little bit off the race start, and now that Audi's coming back to him.
Yeah,
and he's right in place to challenge.
Absolutely, and he's going to be looking every which way to find his way back around, but the two of them are going to have to be careful that they don't battle so hard they let Jordan Johnson get way too far away already with a 2.7 second gap, and we're only, 10 minutes into this race?
And he's just laid down the fastest lap of the race this time as Jordan Johnson, and I'm seeing it as more like a bit over 4 seconds that he's got to Andrew Lanning, Colin Lounsbury. Lounsbury, yeah, not diving to the inside there, trying to take the wide entry, late apex, throttle open early and carry speed down here. And I think of it a lot like a slalom course, this section of the track. Once you get a little bit behind the cones, you just keep, the next one is tougher, which makes the next one tougher, which makes the next one tougher, and you got to stay ahead of it.
I think the entire international audience would like you to tell me what kind of course that is again.
I'm not saying slalom. That's not how I say it. I'm never gonna put on an accent that's not mine.
I'll hold that in my back pocket for the next time I get in trouble for saying churn the wrong way. Anyways, as the battle continues on between Colin and Andrew here.
But there are other Canadians who can pronounce it correctly. I get the argument. I get the argument. I'll keep saying what I say. You can see a battle behind them with Robertson, sort of Wire, Suin, Saputra still, and Nick Love and Davis Trask not quite holding on to that one, but Kyle Robertson seems to have found some race speed that exceeds his qualifying speed.
And there's always a bit of learning going on as the as the drivers in the race have begun to say the word slalom over and over on the voice comms, I think in solidarity. But anyways, the the race here for what looks to be 6th position or 4th position, depending on how far you want to stretch it, is kind of heating up as Josh Soto is suddenly back in the picture for Kyle Robertson.
Yeah, Honda versus Honda. They're the two highest running Hondas at the moment. Because it goes all 4 models in the top 4, doesn't it? It goes Veloster, Elantra, RS3, Civic Type R. So there you go.
Yeah, that's that BOP we're talking about. It looks like it's working pretty well.
A lot to still happen in this, though, with a moderately hot track temperature. Which ones hold on to their tires best will really be the sort of the defining factor of the back half of the race. With 15 minutes done now, you're past the warm-up phase and into the wear phase at this point, with 2nd and 3rd through the slalom of the first sector.
And Lounsbury is trying his best, but it is really hard to make an overtake through here. You can run really close and kind of get a run, but unless the guy ahead makes a mistake, you don't tend to see a big move. Looking a little deeper in the field, we're seeing a little bit of drama on the front straight. That was Ben Rose and Will Nonemaker getting together, and it looks like side-by-side racing gone wrong, and maybe a little bit of net code not helping either. I think front wheel to rear wheel, and that dumps Will into the inside wall, who bounces off and collects Ben. Hard break for both of them. A close call for Harrison and Grinnell behind, who had to take evasive maneuvers to make it. Kind of a lesson though, in the ChampCar series in the real world, you get too caught up in racing with the other guy, and you'll make some mistakes in the long run. This is an endurance series after all, even though we're only running 1-hour races in our sprint series here.
Yeah, I'm led to believe all the time you have to leave it a space, and maybe a bit more could have been given there. This is towards the far end of the circuit with Greg Van der Vert. Orlando Herrell almost always in a white car, and he makes it work. Michael Thorne in the LA Honda World's kind of default livery behind them, and then Andre Jameson in the Drive Trainer Motorsports behind that. Orlando Herald will be hoping for all of the Elantra horsepower he can get down the inside of the back straight.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to have quite enough. It looks like Vandiver's got a better run down here going onto the back straight. Nope, not onto the back straight as they exit the corner after the back straight.
It's genuinely only just occurred to me that we have Ben Rose and Michael Thorne in this race. And
every rose has its thorn. I'm right there.
Life can have both, and so can ChampCar.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they race for position later on. I'm looking forward to it. Gotta say,
love to see it. Ben Rose, of course, looked like he might have picked up a bit of damage. The contact with Nonamaker on the pit straight, at the minimum, it hurt Ben Rose a little bit, costing some time. That's quite wide at the final corner for Greg Vandervert, and he'll be under pressure from Michael Thorne and Andre Jameson. All Honda affair here, so you're not going to talk about which model is burning up the tires more, which one's got, better braking, better straight line performance. It's Honda, and that is a little ChampCar at times. Not a good ride over the apex curb for Vandervert, trying to squeeze around the outside to have the inside into the next corner. Good move made if he holds on well through the next sector. Andre Jameson gets checked up behind him and has to try to work out a way past. This is, behind Joshua Soto, Tim Wire and Kyle Robertson down the back straight. Kyle Robertson, again, looks like he is very brave on the brakes when he needs to be. He'll try to cover off Tim Wire again, potentially.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have a pretty good handle on how to drive these TCRs and how they like to be braked really hard and really late. By the looks of things, they're lighter than they seem, and with 300 plus horsepower at the front wheels, they're kind of a funny beast to drive compared to your average rear-wheel drive momentum car.
Excited for when 2 rounds of the TCR World Tour come to Australia later this year. Maybe just me, probably just me. I am going to see a couple of these models in action then. They're raced all around the world, especially in Europe, North America, but a little bit in Australia and Asia as well. New fastest lap of the race from Jordan Johnson. The track has cooled just a little bit, but my goodness, those tyres are holding on well for him as he works his way out to a 7-second lead over Lounsbury. He's a little clear of Lanning, and then battles behind, like we'd seen, particularly Kyle Robertson and Tim Wire. Davis Trask pitting on the early side, mayhaps. I want to see what he does as far as tyres go, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I think
Will Nonamaker there trying to rejoin the race.
Yeah, I think there's a few right answers here today. I'm curious to see which one will be the most popular one among our leaders.
See no jacks.
Yeah. Is this a car that tires after fuel?
No, I believe it's at the same time. And the way we expect it to maybe work is you can take 2 tires at the same time as fuel, but you can't take 4 tires because they are a 5-lug wheel, and your virtual pit crew, I think it's 1 rattle gun, and they go corner to corner to corner to corner. It takes a minute basically to change all 4 tires, which is basically like 5 minutes in ChampCar time.
Yeah.
That's a very long iRacing pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Not quite as many professionals in your pit crew in the ChampCar series as you see on the sim. As we briefly had a glimpse of Alex H making a heck of a move up the inside there, and jumped back in now with Tim Wire, who's running in 4th place, I'll say. 6th place. There we go.
I'm not sure what you said was correct. Alex Harrison was right about where we saw Davis Trask rejoin in 21st. This is Soto, Robertson and Wire. And, I mean, We thought Soto had gotten away from this as Robertson and Wire battled, but now they are pulling some out of him, and they've not let him be able to get away at all.
Yeah, I must say, Robertson's really seemed to have found a turn of pace here, running 221, 222s kind of nicely, consistently, while Soto rather is struggling in the low 23s. There is some sort of trick to driving these things in the longer term. It's easy to really kind of burn off the fronts on these things, depending on how you're getting out of the corners.
Nicholas Love on the pit lane. I don't think I've ever called him by his written full name. Now I think about it and say it, but interesting to see what he ends up doing as far as the strategy. Davis Trask just took 22 seconds of fuel. Here's Kyle Robertson trying to put an opportunistic little dive on Joshua Soto, showing the nose, making him think, I'm here. You better be careful about whether you feel the need to defend me, either at this part of the track where we saw Robertson make a big dive on Wire, or at any later bit. Robertson again tries to make him think about it. Boso and Sean Saputra not too far behind this battle either. And 20 seconds for Nick Love. I didn't catch if there was 2 tires in that, but I don't think you get 2 in 20 seconds. I think it's kind of 25 seconds or so to do the 2 tires. And of course, the 2 tires that wear the most on a TCR car are
the fronts.
Yeah. They do 80% of the work.
Yeah, and then some. He's come out though right in front of Scott Grinnell and Davis Trask, who are kind of having themselves a little battle. So he's kind of having to react to those guys behind now that he's come out of the pits.
Well, yeah, he's come out right with Davis Trask, having those two pitted a lap apart. So yeah, just ahead of Trask he is.
Gets a little tag there going into the hairpin before the big straight. And they'll be too wide, it looks like. Some side drafting going on here from Trask. Got to be careful when you get that front wheel that close to the rear wheel of the guy ahead. But the draft definitely a big factor in these things. Trask is going to get the run here by the looks of things.
Trask is praying for just a little bit more VTEC. He's down the inside at the end of the back straight.
He's gotten
and up
enough.
and ahead.
Yeah, he's gotten enough, and he's going to get away with that one. Nice move from him.
Kyle Robertson throws one at Joshua Soto over 4th place. Soto's out wide on the exit of turn 1, swoops the short line downhill at 2 and towards turn number 3, side by side at a corner that you can't really go side by side through this complex, and Joshua Soto wins back out. Kyle Robertson all over his bumper. Tim Wire hanging on, watching on.
Oh, and that was some really professional driving on the entry. Soto claiming the line and Robertson backing out enough that he doesn't make contact and end both of their races. That was really, really clean and really, really close racing.
Indeed, not close enough again this time, but Robertson just loves that little move, that little fake, and he gets snugly to the apex, and they are hard to see in these cars at those really tight corners, very, very sharp and pointy at the apex, where to spot them, where to turn in. This is the right move from Robertson. He pulls out of Soto's slipstream to try to cover off Wire, and if anything, that maybe makes him more vulnerable. They're side by side braking here. Robertson leaving that room on the outside for Tim Wire that gives him the inside into the next right-hander. That's what these complex of corners are designed to do. Robertson looking to go over-under. They have done this dance before. They know the steps.
Wire's one step ahead by the looks of things as they come into the last corner of that little complex for a bit. And he'll hold the inside here as they go through this big right-hander. Better run for Robertson on the exit, but Wire's going to have the position unless he gets this braking all wrong.
This is where things start to get interesting. From 2nd place, Colin Lounsbury pits. We'll see who else follows him. Obviously not Jordan Johnson, as he's gone on to set a new fastest lap of the race, shaving about a tenth off of it. Tim Wire pits in that Team Salen's Audi RS3 LMS. So he leaves Soto and Robertson to battle it out and decides that he is going to stop.
And it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do here. He'll have a good view of what Robertson's doing ahead. Lounsbury's doing ahead.
Not sure I'm seeing anything but fuel for the two of them there as well. So Lounsbury back out. That makes sense. Lounsbury's got the gas station livery on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, living up to the sponsor's name. And it does kind of add up that these guys wouldn't feel the need to take tires, especially if it was going to cost them anything in terms of fueling, because these tires are built to run in the IMSA series where they're putting 2 hours on a set of tires pretty regularly.
Yeah, they've still got their peak that they fall away from.
Yeah,
so a little busier on the lane now. John McManus, Michael Thorne, Greg Vandervert. We just had Carlos Reyes. Again, the potentially only Club Texas driver in the field. Really is a Lone Star state.
Especially today.
And there you go, more drivers adding fuel, rejoining the race. A couple of drivers that haven't stopped here, Sean Saputra and Ian Giebler. Saputra still with a bit of a dent on the nose of that Elantra. Giebler, no such.
A little bit of drama out on track. 11th place, by the looks of things. David Warden's just gotten a big shunt from the likes of Mark Kruger as they were heading into turn number 12. Sorry, I've misspoken. Orlando Harrell was making a move on Mark Kruger and didn't account for the fact that Trask was going to be at the apex. Warden was going to be at the apex when he got there. Either way, it's left Warden facing the wrong way and taking a good chunk out of Harrell's nose. Kind of tricky because you can arrive really fast,
yeah.
But it's cost him more than the overtake would have gained him.
Everyone else pitting now, including your leader, Jordan Johnson, followed in by Andrew Lanning. And look at that The Veloster's the race leader. No jacks there. Lanning, though, up as the fuel also goes in.
Yeah, and it's tough. You can't tell which tires are going on in the sim, so it'll be interesting to see which ones he takes. But if you're a betting man, you say the fronts. And I like this move, you're kind of far behind. You got to do something a little different than the leader. I like the strategy.
So there's Lounsbury, who took no tires. Andrew Lanning rejoins not far behind him at all, with still 30 minutes left to go in this race. Ian Giebler, it's looking like a longish stop for him. Is he almost done, or is he taking 4 tires? Because if he is, he's going to find out that it takes just to change one, because you got to go 5 nuts off, new tire on, 5 on, and I think at 45 seconds that might be an all 4 tire change for Ian Giebler. He'll be gripped up for the back half, but about 20 seconds behind where he otherwise would have been on the track position right now.
Yeah, that's a tough strategic call. I'm not sure that'll pay off for him, but we'll have to see how he progresses. There definitely was drop off going on in the other half or in the front half of the field. It's also possible that he forgot to check his fast repair and ended up using one by accident.
So I think we have seen everybody through the pit lane now, except for Alan Wells, apparently. But that might be just a timing glitch for me.
No, I'm seeing that as well. But by the looks of things, he's saved a lot of extra fuel by going maybe a lap down, or the better part of it.
Scott Grinnell behind him at the minute. And Andre Jameson in front. So with basically the bulk of the pit stops done, Jordan Johnson's lead sits at 13 seconds. Colin Lounsbury and Andrew Lanning. Remember, they came out of the pit lane very close to each other. Andrew Lanning taking a minute to get those tyres in, I think, because he's now 5 seconds back on this outlap. But he'll be hoping from about here on in, he gets a lot more braking, turning, traction grip off of new tyres.
Yeah, impressed that he didn't lose all that much time by the looks of things. Maybe 4 seconds slower than some of the other guys, than some of the shorter stops that we would have seen.
Yeah, and then Joshua Soto and Kyle Robertson together, 4th and 5th. They've dropped Tim Wire a little bit. This is an elsewhere battle, Van der Vert, Herrell, Kruger. So plenty happening. Herrell around the outside of Van der Vert. Kruger in the Kruger-tuned car. Typically yellow, always with the musical note and the logo. So you spot him. Oh, that rear looked so squirrely from Herrell.
Yeah, they set these things up loose, but yeah, that looks a little tricky getting around.
I think you can grip the handbrake in most of these as well.
That's actually true. I wonder how many of our drivers have figured that out.
Of course, that's typically for loading the car against the handbrake for standing starts that these cars do in a lot of other sprint championships. Herrell, big move to the inside, the final corner. Oh, he gives just a little tap there to Orlando Herrell.
Yeah, Van der Vert had kind of gotten the run wrong off the last corner and was trying to hold on around the outside. It's tough to do. I'm just enjoying the fact that Michael Thorne, Canadian representative, is driving away from these guys up ahead of him.
Do you stand on guard for him?
That's controversial. I'm not sure I'm going to say that.
Okay, fair enough.
Kyle Robertson, though, and Josh Soto are guarding from each other. Soto had to take some pretty defensive lines there to hold on to 4th place after they were pretty tight coming off the back straight. And big wide exit there from Josh Soto. He's going to have to be careful he keeps it on the track.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of this lap, we'll also get an idea on if tyres for Andrew Lanning is going to pay off some. It looked like most drivers didn't go for it, but towards the end, you can hit a little bit of the cliff on these tyres. So Lanning now flying lap, still a second off what Lounsbury's doing in second, which is still about half a second off Jordan Johnson at the lead at the moment.
An impressive drive from Jordan Johnson, must be said. Based on his qualifying efforts, it seemed likely, but he's really showing that pace differential that he showed. I'll be curious to see if he comes up and joins us for some other rounds, if he's got the same kind of pace in some of our other offerings.
I mean, some people come out of the woodwork for Mazda Miata round. I wasn't aware that many people came out of the woodwork absolutely dying to race the TCR. It has its place. It can be very exciting and strategically challenging, as we've just seen from, oh, do you take tires? Do you not? Sort of thing. But maybe this is his jam.
Yeah. Well, and he'll definitely get the chance to try something different if he shows up in the GR86 at Sebring on June 21st, because that's going to be, about as different as you can get in terms of track surface and driveline layout and power around these tracks.
Track smoothness.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, with that said, the iRacing scan is good, but there are a couple places around here where the track smoothness has been a problem, both for F1 and MotoGP bikes and all the like.
True. I'll give you that. I'm actually tuning into this battle here between Sean Saputra and Bowie Suin. They're kind of having a little go at it in 7th and 8th place. The two of them are side by side through 13 by the looks of things, and having some fun on their way down to 15. They'll be side by side again. Suin takes the slower entry, but gets the better exit, and I think he's going to make that stick on Sean Saputra, who took it in a lot deeper into 15.
I think you feel $1,000,000 when you pull off a switchback like that, and you get to not only be ahead, but also at least briefly feel like the smarter driver in the engagement. You love that. It's worked out pretty well for Bowie Suin. Notice that Sean Saputra still has the slight damage to his nose, so he decided to save his fast repair for a rainier day.
Mm-hmm. May not be able to see it. I'm looking ahead of them, actually, at Soto and Robertson as they go side by side again through turn number 1. Soto is just cleared off Robertson, kind of stole the apex away from him. But we'll see. Robertson has kind of consistently been faster than Soto through the S's here.
Yeah, it's just corner after corner after corner here, and Robertson gets a wide entry to take the shallow exit, to take the wide entry to get the shallow exit, and just keep mounting pressure on Joshua Soto. I think that's Alan Wells ahead of them there, staying driver's right as they dive down to the pinch point here. Soto taking the diamond towards the apex. Seen some hot dog pics lately in the ChampCar iRacing series Discord, and not the kind that we had to moderate either.
I know. If you gave me chat banning powers, I'd have thought about it for some of those ketchup covered hot dogs. Jeez Louise.
And there's the team photo behind as well, as you see Tim Wire still delighted, I'm sure, to see this battling going on between Soto and Robertson, burning up their tires a little bit, costing each other some time.
Robertson got it all kinds of squirrely on the entry there. He locked up the rears by the looks of things, by the way it was squirming under braking. But he's cleaned it up a little bit, and I think he might actually get the better run out of here. Nope, spoke too soon. Soto's driving away with it. This is the quality analysis that you come to the ChampCar iRacing series for.
Absolutely. Wire getting just a little bit closer as they've battled. Is this yeah, okay. Dakota Knapp behind Aaron Thorpe, Scott Grinnell and Andre Jameson in pursuit. So pick your poison between Civic TCR or Elantra here.
I'd like to be the second guy in line here. I think Dakota Knapp's got a real good chance at running the draft here all the way down the back straight as he pops out and uses that draft to try and overtake. And he's going to have the run, and we'll see if he's got the brakes. Looks like he might. He'll have the line too, at least until the exit. Yeah, he really nailed that. Puts it right on that yellow curb. No way to get around the inside of him.
Saputra and Suin again. Drive Trainer Motorsports with their fair share of fans watching along, and the texts I keep receiving from Phil Salen, I don't know if they tell me he's enjoying the show, but they tell me he's definitely engaged with it. And isn't that our modern world in a nutshell?
Real-time feedback. Soto and Robertson, speaking of guys running pretty quick, are coming up on some lap traffic here. They'll have to find their way around Alex Harrison in the next few corners. Kind of a tough spot to come up on a guy. A lot of different lines to be run through here, and Harrison decides to take the very polite strategy of obeying those blue flags and getting out of the way. We'll see if he does the same for Tim Wire and that Salen's car behind.
Deep off the exit for Soto, and a little deeper for Alex Harrison too.
Johnson's just put a fast one in 2:02.2 or 2:22, sorry, at the line, which is faster than his qualifying lap.
Yeah, this is your race leader, who I think is not getting the, I guess, the attention that this performance deserves. On pole by margin, walking away with the field, laying down the fastest lap of the race last lap. Notice a little bit more overcast as well. And so that really helps the circuit grip up nicely in this phase of the race. This time with 9 laps to go, it looked like, for Jordan Johnson. 17 seconds clear now of Colin Lounsbury. Matching lap times with Andrew Lanning now that the tyres have come in for Lanning, but they don't seem to have found a whole lot of extra performance out of that.
Yeah, Lanning for the Heartland Motorsports or Autosport there is going to maybe be kicking himself a bit for that strategy. We'll see yet. There's still some time left in this race for those tires to start to provide an advantage, but it doesn't look like they were worth it at this point in the race. But again, I kind of, all things considered, I kind of like the strategy having, in terms of aggression. You'd like to see a good aggressive pit strategy, at least give yourself a shot at getting up there.
Yeah, so Kruger behind Vandervert 18th and 19th. These guys are 7 seconds behind Harrell and Thorne.
And Harrell and Thorne are having a bit of a battle. Thorne just did an over-under move, defending Harrell up the inside and jumping it across the curb pretty nicely. He'll have the inside line as they get into the S's here.
Yeah, and you don't go too wide here, but it's a very shallow entry for Thorne, who then needs to try to pay back that debt before the next apex, then into the next and into the next. Good move for the Canadian in 16th.
Mm-hmm. Well held by him for sure.
And Tim Wire, he's damn well caught them now. Right up behind Kyle Robertson. Soto just a second ahead and still in sight. So ding ding, is this round 3, 4 or 5 for Robertson versus Wire?
Yeah, they've definitely got themselves glued back together, and I don't know if you caught it as you said, ding ding. Jordan Johnson shaves another couple hundredths off. I think he's just making sure we haven't forgotten about him up there as he keeps on putting in just very marginally fast laps. But Tim Wire's coming down the front straight here, and he'll be using that draft up into turn 1. We'll see if he's able to make it work. No move on the entry, but the two of them are definitely getting closer to Soto ahead.
Yeah, they are. Noticing any differences, relative strengths one way to the other between the models? I think the Audi looks pretty good here, or at least in Wire's hands it does, but from the high speed into the big braking zones into the tight corners, the Honda maybe looks a little sharper.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some big moves from the guys in the Civics, late on the brakes, that sort of thing, but haven't seen a big difference in terms of top-end speed. Maybe you could say the Veloster's getting there a little quicker, but kind of hard to say right now.
It's a good run off the corner for Wire, and Robertson will show him what side of the track he can go to. And Tim Wire will say, not enough to scare me. They're absolutely level peggings here with Tim Wire having the advantage. He's got his nose ahead. He's got the inside. But that is, again, super deep on the brakes from Robertson, but nowhere to go with it. And he gets caught in an awkward place. Tim Wire to 5th. Sights forward on Soto potentially.
Yeah, definitely. He'll be feeling like he's got something for it, because they managed to make that overtake while chasing down Soto at the same time. And Soto, despite having the position, has kind of felt like the ugly duckling in the group. He hasn't quite had the pace that the guys behind have had. He's just had the racecraft to keep him behind. He's running 23.1 last time by, and Wire ran a 21.8.
We all know the moral of the story. The ugly duckling was actually just an average-looking Signet.
And we'll all hold that deep in our hearts.
It's It's a great message. So Joshua Soto from Wire from Robertson, non-stop box office entertainment, I dare say, since about lap 2. These drivers from before the pit stops, from after the pit stops, and Wire between his teeth, he caught the Hondas. He's passed one. He's shaping up on the second, and he's one of those drivers who hardly ever misses a race, and that adds up because do you notice no Mark McCormick?
Yeah, no Mark McCormick and no Alex Albert on this race, and by the looks of things, this could be a significant one in the points as those drop weeks start to get used up.
What if, say, hypothetically, Jordan Johnson wins every race between now and December?
It'd be a tough one still with Soto currently leading the points despite running in fourth on the track
3
today.
drops?
Three? Three
It
drops
was
this
genuinely
season.
between you and
Yes.
I
Yeah,
to
3 drops this
decide
season.
that, and
yeah.
we can remember. Yeah, so, I mean, starting at round 6, very, very big ask to even go up against, someone like a Tim Wire who just, banks top 5s. So Soto's feeling the heat. He has to go mid-track to try to defend against Tim Wire, who just goes plain around the outside, if you don't mind. Gets in just a little too hot to make it work, though, and then looks to the inside of the next corner. Not enough overlap to demand the respect and the apex. And he stays sandwiched between Honda Civic, TCRs, but he looks like he's got good vision. Do you know what I mean? Like he gets to the apex, he turns in at the point that he means to, and there's nothing to cover the 3 of them at the moment here. It's not flashy on the brakes or anything like that, but Wire just seems to have the car where he wants, and others look like they get in a little hot or they overslow the car in their pursuit of making sure they get to the apex of the very tight corners.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a very maneuverable car for him right now, and he's right on the rear bumper of Soto ahead as they come onto the front straight. We'll see if he can turn that into something going into turn 1.
Well, the way they're going, they're not going to get caught by the cars behind. They're not going to catch the cars in front. It's just to work it out for this, and he gets a little pinched as he breaks in deep, runs out wide off the exit. Does Tim Wire, and Kyle Robertson looks to come back around the outside. Maybe almost lifts. Does he maybe almost lift at turn 2 there as he was around the outside? Thought he could have taken it.
Yeah, hard to say, but it's also tough sometimes to make the judgment call where the guy is, especially if you don't have triple monitors or a VR setup. Yeah, and from my perspective, there was definitely a lift there on the onboard. Not so much of a lift now, though, as they come through the exit of the S's there. Uses all that runoff. And holds on to it, and Soto still manages to hold a gap despite running slower laps on 2 of the last 3 and averaging almost a second a lap slower over the last 5.
I'm watching 2 cars that we know took tires in Ian Giebler and David Warden, and I'm not seeing lap times or performance that suggest they're getting shareholder value out of their investment. So
I think
for Giebler, he's still going to catch Nick Love here by the looks of things, but he's not, up against William Alcala, Davis Trask, Sean Saputra, Bowie Suin in this anymore.
That's true. David Warden, on the other hand, though, is having a blast back in 24th place. He and Ben Rose have been side by side off and on throughout, I think, the last 3 laps. Every time I check in on them, they seem to be having a bit of a battle. So while we're talking about them, we might as well show them. Ben Rose and in the blue and orange car is chasing the pink and purple liveried car of David Warden. And both of them kind of have really different approaches to the S's. Looks like Warden's going to get the exit, I think. We'll see. Get it further to the right, further to the right. Oh, he's going to pay for this one. Rose is going to get the run on the short shoot here. And that's down headed towards turn 11 before the big straight.
And you look to the inside, he will. Rose gets in. Super hot. The switchback is on there for the Audi of David Warden. And he's done it very well indeed. But how about the switchback to the switchback?
Yeah, this is what you look for on this track. So the switchback to the switchback, he's getting the draft now. He's going to pop back out, and he's the last of the late breakers, except for that time. David Warden breaks later, but leaves a lot of room for Ben Rose to get by. It's nice to see that even the first two guys a lap down can be having a great time in a Champ Car race. It doesn't have to be just the guys in the top 10, you know. Even if you're having some issues early in the race, damaging the car, you can have a great time. Speaking of, we got a great time brewing a little further up the field between Tim Wire and Kyle Robertson.
Kyle Robertson's pushing Tim Wire towards Joshua Soto, which is interesting to see the way that they battled beforehand for Robertson to change his tune just a little bit. Wire is so good here, except he's just too close to Joshua Soto, and he just gets boxed in behind the Civic rear bumper.
Oh, it's so tough through here to make a move. He's got almost a lane.
Now he can't attack Soto. He's got to cover off Robertson. And it's those just couple of corners there off of the back straight to about here, where Tim Wire, I think, has half a second on these other guys. But gosh, is it not easy to pass there if you don't time it right.
Yeah, Kyle has been trying every which way, but I think he and Wire are both struggling a little bit to find the correct rhythm to make the overtake at this track. And COTA really a track where timing it right is important, because there's so many corners where you can get a run with not enough straight afterwards to actually make it count. Deep entry there from Robertson. We'll see, he's trying that sort of tighter exit. Wire still holding them off, though.
The inseparable trio of round 6 of the ChampCar iRacing series: Joshua Soto, Tim Wire, Kyle Robertson. But there can only be a couple more acts to this play, because it's 6 minutes left on the clock in this 1 hour race, and the checkered flag is not too far away, and someone's got to lead. Someone's got to take 4th place. Someone take 5th. Someone take 6th. They are not looking like they're going to catch Lanning in 3rd, Lounsbury in 2nd, or Jordan Johnson in 1st.
Yeah, despite that, 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th, there's still a good fight as well. We're watching Bowie Suin and Sean Saputra keep going at it as they went through the S's that time. And Saputra gets on the brakes super late, really shows the prowess of that Hyundai Elantra on the brakes that time. And then Suin kind of runs away on the exit with the Civic.
Second pit stop from Michael Thorne, but he's not going to re-emerge near the rows.
Yeah, I misread my timing screen. Those are both Elantras, but they're having a great time nonetheless.
But he is going to rejoin just ahead of Aaron Thorpe. Elsewhere, it looks like Nick Love, it sure is. Ian Giebler in pursuit of him. Giebler, like we said, with the tyres. Which way do I go? Which way do I go? That red concrete is going to run out, buddy. You got to look to the inside here, and he will, trying to fake out Nick Love. Carlos Reyes in the pink Honda. Something I say that often. He's all over them likewise here. Great 3-way fight. 3 models. And again, another battle where they've got to sort it out in just the next couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And pretty much everywhere, looking straight from 4th all the way back to about 13th is locked in a battle. Tim Wire's kind of gone and got turn number 1 a little bit wrong again. He's let Kyle Robertson have another look up the inside in that battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. But he holds on Robertson seems to be lifting a little bit through that second churn apex. I don't know if he's just trying to like protect the tires a little bit or what, but he does it pretty consistently even when he doesn't have a run.
Yeah, interesting. Lots of little taps of the brake pedal. One of the few things the drivers can change is there is a cockpit brake bias adjuster. So anything that you can change in the cockpit doesn't count as fixed setup. So yeah, that's up to the drivers how they want to move it. If they want to move it corner to corner around the lap, then I guess they can. But yeah, driver preference. And the brake pedal, I think, turns the car as much as the steering wheel does, the way these cars are often set up.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the good old days of the ChampCar iRacing series when we would race the street stock with the adjustable brake bias, and we had some guys putting the brake bias on their paddle shifter so that they could change the brake bias for every corner on the track to try and get a few more tenths out of the thing.
You think Jordan Johnson's pretty good at this car?
Oh, I'd have to say he's pretty good at this car. He's put a third of the field a lap down at Circuit of the Americas and just run a 2:19.9 by the looks of things.
And he's about to put Mark Kruger a lap down if he can. He's looking. Kruger has a nice little clip of the curb there. Not a whole lot of pressure on Johnson at the moment with a 22-second lead. Still not being given the fastest drive-through service I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to survive, though. Would be curious to see if we had a couple of our other championship contenders out. Soto doesn't seem to have had much for him today, but what someone like McCormick or Albert might have had.
So there goes Johnson lapping now up to 17th place. There's a couple battles you can't look away from, because when you do, something happens between Soto, Wire, and Robertson, and then also Love, Giebler, and Reyes. Here is Giebler.
Yeah, good run there for Giebler, but still a few car lengths between him and Love ahead. Love takes the middle line, kind of makes sure that there's no opportunities for Giebler to make a move, but Giebler does make up some ground in exchange.
Yeah, he does. Reyes has dropped just an itty bit back. Charles Kowalczyk is on the pit lane for a second time, as the race lead is going to come around and take the white flag this time. So very late on, if it's fuel, you'll be kicking yourself about that one. Here is the final corner for Jordan Johnson. Barney, the flag man, has got a white flag for him. Is it back there or is it up here? Oh, he's there, and he's got it. Yep, they're rejoining the race. It was Kowalczyk, I think, just on the lead lap.
Things are pretty hot between Soto and Wire again. Soto holds off another move from Wire into 13 there. And we'll see if Wire ever finds the way around Soto. Soto's kind of just done a really masterful job of placing the car where Wire just can't quite find the room to make a run, but Wire's starting to get more and more aggressive, using a lot of the red inside curb, and he's got the line this time. Will he have the brakes? Oh, not quite enough. Late little tap, and that's given the run to the outside there. That's Robertson making the move around the outside. Quality stuff.
Yeah, it's the last lap for them now as well, and they know it. Into turn one, Wire on the inside, big swoop around the outside from Robertson, and not going to be much of a lift this time through turn number two. Wire looked promising just a couple laps ago, and now Soto and Robertson are back ahead of him.
Yeah, with the benefit of the overhead view, I saw Wire just lay a black stripe up on his inside tire as he was exiting that corner, kind of spun him up really bad. Oh no, and checking back in on our 11th to 13th battle, I've just seen Carlos Reyes dive for the pit lane. He must be low on fuel, but he's also got the entrance to the pit lane wrong as he's locked up and almost hit the barriers on the way in. That's not going to work out for him.
I think that was Orlando Harrell and John McManus. A lot happening on this final lap, and it's all for points.
Yeah, that's Orlando Harrell and John McManus really close together as they go in. McManus has another part of that Heartland Autosports team that he's going to be looking to make a move on Orlando Harrell here.
Just behind them, though, the race leader's ready to take the checkered flag. More than a second clear in qualifying, leading just about every lap and taking the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. That is domination from Jordan Johnson, new to the championship, but like a duck to water, he takes his race win on debut. Colin Lounsbury behind him in second and Andrew Lanning in third. What about Soto versus Robertson versus Wire, though? They're coming through the long, sweeping right-hander to the final two corners. Your last chance to try to outbrake someone is into the final corner, and none of them really look close enough to try to pull it off. Certainly not Robertson to Soto. Wire could maybe think about it, but he's a car length or so too far back as they come to the final corner.
Yeah, big moves, but not a lot of opportunities, unfortunately, that late.
Tim Wire.
What's happened? Oh, they've crossed the start-finish line there. They're having a goof, I think. Because the start-finish line is right, the finish line is right after the exit of the corner.
This is Harrell and McManus again, and again a straight fight. Elantra to Elantra, Harrell in white, McManus in the N Motorsport factory colours. That's how it comes off the showroom, if you will.
Mm-hmm. McManus having a look at Harrell here. Still a pretty big gap for the two of them, though. And a lot of camaraderie from the guys crossing the line. By the sounds of things.
Yeah, so Carlos Reyes just ahead of them takes the checkered flag. McManus decides to use all the real estate the last time through.
Yeah.
And takes the checkered flag.
That's good stuff. And Alan Wells behind and Dakota Knapp crossing the line as well. And I think that's everyone.
Yep. The results now confirmed. Yep. So this one's going to take a tiny bit of explaining. Jordan Johnson from Colin Lounsbury, from Andrew Lanning, our top three. Joshua Soto in fourth. Tim Wire had exceeded the 30 incident limit before he took the checkered flag and gets 40 seconds added post-race. That drops him behind Kyle Robertson, Bowie Suin, Sean Saputra, William Alcala, and Davis Trask. So Tim Wire, 10th place at the end of that. Ian Giebler, 11th. Nick Love, Carlos Reyes, Orlando Harrell, John McManus, Dakota Knapp, Charles Kowalczyk, Mark Kruger, Michael Thorne, and Greg Vandervert, 20th. And then Aaron Thorpe, Andre Jameson, Scott Grinnell, David Warden, Alex Harrison, Will Nonamaker, Alan Wells, Ben Rose, J.R. Cabrera did 7 laps, and Jared Cubitt, none.
28 qualifying drivers, and a good chunk of them still eligible for the $250 Champ Buck prize, graciously provided to us by the ChampCar series. And we'd love to have you come and race with us in the ChampCar iRacing series in the real world. And it looks like we got a few people that might be up for an interview here, Haynes. I found the likes of Andrew Lanning hiding in our booth.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Going pretty good. How about you, man? It looked like a pretty solid race out there, but a quiet one.
Yeah, it's a little quiet in the back half, but Colin and I had a really good battle there in the beginning, and I just had a poor cutback, and Colin got away from me there.
Yeah, it looked like you got up on the jacks and grabbed some tires.
Yeah, I went ahead and I grabbed some front tires. I saw that Josh was about 10, 12 seconds behind at the time, and I figured, you know what, I can take a little bit more fuel, I can take a little bit more tire, and at least make it fun to drive the last half of the stint alone.
And if we knocked Jordan Johnson off the top step of the podium, I'd be telling you that you put in a heck of a qualifying lap, but it didn't seem like you two had anything for him at the end of the race there.
Yeah, he was quick all through all the practice sessions. I mean, trouncing me by like nearly a second and a half in some sessions. So it was pretty expected to watch him walk away, but a lot of fun trying to learn from him.
Yeah, absolutely. We were impressed over there, and impressed by you too. Is this your first time out in the ChampCar iRacing series?
No. I did the last one with Heartland Autosport just a couple weeks ago.
I must not have gotten to interview you for that one then, unless I did.
I finished third there as well.
There you go. Okay. Well, I'll remember your name for next week or for the next one, because you're becoming a regular around here at this point.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, cheers, and anyone you'd like to thank for today?
Just the teammates, John McManus, Dakota Knapp. They're out there hanging out with me today too. Good to have them around.
Cheers. They put on a show for us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got the full complement of the podium, because this would be Colin Lounsbury taking a very strong little second place there.
How's it going, guys?
We're going well. How are you going after that?
Much better after the last race. The last race was pretty rough for me. This one was much more rewarding, and it's a ton of fun racing with Andrew, and kudos to Jordan for kicking all of our butts over there.
Now, as I look at the race results, our top 4 cars are the 4 makes of TCR available. You're in the Audi RS3. Did you think it stacked up?
Honestly, I like the look of it. I didn't have the TCR until last week. I was looking through the 4 options and thought I liked the Audi, found the Hess truck paint scheme. My grandfather's a big fan of the Hess truck, and said, oh, we'll run that scheme and car combination.
Yeah, beauty. I don't think there's quite as much cachet to flashing your Honda or Hyundai keys, but certainly, in fact, Hyundais, you hardly need keys apparently, but you've done very, very well with the 4 rings. And yeah, it's certainly a different character of car than what we had last time out with the most modern MX-5.
Definitely.
I'm short of other things to say, Devin.
Well, it looked like a pretty solid race for you, and kind of a return customer here. We see over in the Spec 5 series as well, don't we?
Yeah, like I said, had a little bit of a rough go last time, but much better this time. And I had some family and friends watching on the stream, so hopefully they enjoyed the stream. And thanks to all those who were watching, and thanks to you guys for putting on a great show too.
We definitely enjoyed having you out as well. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. Thank you for saving me from a mental blank there, Devin. We move one step further up the podium to find the race winner, Jordan Johnson. Congratulations to you. Your first time out in the ChampCar iRacing Series, best we know, and you go and tick just about every box you could.
Yeah, it was an interesting race for me coming in. It's kind of the second time I've really driven a TCR in a race. I think I've driven once on like Mosport in the Veloster as well, but I try to just feel what the car liked the most and just stay within its limits. It was more stressful than it should have been because I didn't know what I was doing in that car.
It didn't show. Another box you tick is the least incidents as well. So most respect of track limits. You take the fastest lap, you take the pole, you take the win, you lead just about every damn lap. And there's still some TCR races to come in the rest of the championship as well at Mid-Ohio and VIR. So you get to keep the car and keep that knowledge that you gained today.
Yeah, I look forward to those. I think the rear-wheel drive races will be suited to me a little bit more. Mid-Ohio, maybe I'll have a home field advantage being local, but I couldn't see myself sneaking in so dominantly in the other tracks. TCR again, not really what I'm too comfortable with.
I'd love to see a home field advantage off between yourself, Andy Cosick, and Ian Giebler, perhaps, for who's the most local to Mid-Ohio. But good to hear you can look forward to that one. You got any sort of lonely thoughts that came to your mind in the remaining 55 minutes as you walked away?
Well, fortunately, I was at a voice chat with some buddies, so I was in good company. But I think really it was just try to learn. Treat it as a practice session. Again, second time I've really ever driven a TCR car in anger, so there was a lot that I could learn, and I think by the end of the race it was starting to show. My lap times were starting to trickle down just a little bit more and more each lap. So a lot of good knowledge to be had. At the end of the day, that's really all you can do. When you form a gap like that, just make sure you don't overdo it, put it into a wall, and just learn what you can, drive within the limits of the car.
Track cooling off as we went along also might have helped the tires, help you find more confidence and a bit more speed as it went?
It could do. Yeah, I would imagine. I would be surprised if not, especially with how front limited the car was at this track. Turn 19 was surprisingly difficult until later in the stint. Then once the rear started coming around, it was a bit more comfortable there. Same with the triple right-hander, I believe. That's 16, 17, and 18. Another corner that TCR really struggled with early on, but later in the run, it definitely was a little bit more receptive to running through there. But that was probably one of the hardest corners for me to get a grasp of.
Well, congratulations to you, a ChampCar iRacing Series winner. We can see the paint, but I'm sure you've got some people to thank and throw a shout out to.
Yeah, of course. First off, my team, Pure Sims Esports, for all the help that they give us, and now a year coming up, and the end of this week, I'll have been with them. So can't thank them enough. Of course, all of our sponsors, SimLab. Sorry, blanking on all of these. SimLab, Night Rider Designs, Cube Controls, Freedom, and OBP Esports. They help make everything possible for us to be able to go out and racing. So thank you to all of our partners, and we appreciate all the support that they give us, and look to continue with them in the future.
Awesome, and thanks for finding the time to chat with us after a long race.
Yeah, of course, I look forward to being here in 2 weeks' time, I believe.
2 for practice, 3 for the championship race, methinks.
Sounds good. Well, I should be back around for it. A little bit more interesting race for me with the GR86, I believe.
Awesome. See you then.
Thank you.
And he is correct. In 3 weeks' time, our next championship race is the Toyota GR86 at Sebring International Raceway. Go to forum.champcar.org if you want all the information on how to join the league, on the schedule, and all of that stuff. And hopefully we continue a great turnout like this. 30 drivers putting on great racing in the TCR.
And I'd be remiss if I don't shout out that the second round of our endurance series is going to be coming up on July 8th. That'll be the Mustangs at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and a longer format on the weekend. So if you're looking for a team event and want to throw down on a weekend, we'll be looking for some drivers and some great competition in one of the funnest cars we get to drive, the Mustang.
Exactly. That calendar and all of the formats, forum.champcar.org. The iRacing section is up the top. The schedule is pinned, and you can also join us on the series Discord server, chat with some of the other drivers, and celebrate and commiserate. You'll see us here again for the next live broadcast of ChampCar iRacing series in 3 weeks' time from Sebring. You'll also catch us for the Spec 5 World Tour about this time tomorrow night. So do subscribe to catch all that iRacing action. It's top class and very, very exciting. All from myself, David Haynes, Devin Peters, and Michael Derby as we sign off from the Lone Star State, round 6 of the ChampCar iRacing series, swept by Jordan Johnson.